power-hungry payment processors. Like, apparently there was some kind of drama with Steam.
So you might have recently heard about this news regarding Steam and payment processors dictating what sort of content Steam can or cannot sell, which is, first of all, reminiscent to stuff we've talked about occurring in Japan.
What?
With, similarly, payment processors going after certain Japanese websites and doing the same thing there, dictating what content they're...
Applications are, that fraudulently attempt to gather sensitive information, such as Steam credentials, financial data, video, cannot be directly related to product as shipped. What?
Allowed to have or not have on that website. And so here with Steam, we're essentially seeing the same thing.
Honestly, payment processors, I think, should be held to way more scrutiny on their monopoly, basically. Like, if they can take away people's ability to buy and sell things because they have a natural monopoly on selling stuff, they need to be immediately punched in the face by the government, figuratively. Like, you know, if the government were an entity and then the payment processor an entity, the government needs to immediately shut them down on this.
The screenshot shows section 15 highlighted, and it reads, content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers in particular.
Oh yeah, if you want crypto to win, here's how you do it, really.
With the Reddit user posting this, adding, this is possibly related to PayPal because people in certain regions have not been able to use it to pay on Steam for the past 5 days. Permalink to list of removals from the store requires non-limited Steam account to view. All right, now let's scroll up and see the actual title of this post. Sometimes YouTube is a little bit, let's just say, funny with certain content at the very beginning, at the very start of a video. And you'll see why I'm mentioning that.
That's why the chat is blocked, by the way. That's why the chat is blocked for like the very, very first couple seconds of the videos is for that reason. Because Steam, Steam, not Steam. What am I talking about? Because of YouTube. Because YouTube will basically take the piss on your video and they'll give you a lower monetization rate because of it. Because of the first couple seconds of the video. So that's the reason why it happens.
Read the title here. So it says, from our Steam 1 day ago. Steam has added a new rule disallowing games that violate the rules and standards set forth by payment processors and card networks or internet network providers. At the same time, many incest-themed games were removed from the store. And as the top comment here would essentially say, yeah, the issue here is not whether you agree with that sort of content or not. That's not the focus of this video or this issue at all. It's, of course, the issue is that these payment processors are apparently dictating what platforms like Steam can have on them. You would imagine, you know, Steam would be deciding what Steam wants to have on their website or wants to have for sale. But for some reason, the payment processors are like, nah, actually, we decide what is and is not okay. And you better bend the knee to us. I don't know what would happen if Steam rejected this. Presumably, the payment processors might actually say, okay, we're not going to do business on your site anymore. That'd be a pretty bold thing to do, but just the fact that Steam is bending the knee to this sort of thing shows that they clearly are concerned that that's possible.
If it's Steam is huge. But like this should immediately be a lawsuit. Like, this is crazy.
Possibility that the payment processors would completely stop doing business on Steam and facilitating those transactions. So the top comment says, when I think is debatable what kind of content should be more okay to sell or not. A little broken English there, but I think I get the point. Card companies shouldn't be the ones who decide.
So wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. You can't have a game monetized where a brother and a sister kiss each other for sexual reasons, but you can have a game where you walk into a town and you murder 100 people. I don't know about you, but like I feel like the other one is worse. Like am I the only one that thinks that like walking into like a city and murdering 100 people is like way worse than like a brother and sister kissing? Like, what are we talking about?
On saying, yep, the way payment processors engage.
Even if the brother and sister in game 100% fucked in game, uncensored, I still think that morally, who cares about them doing that in private versus like a game where you simulate walking around and killing random people? And I'm not saying that they should not have games where you walk around and kill 100 people. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to do that. Like, I'm fine with games like that. I'm fine with like all sorts of expression when it comes to games. But are you telling me that like the other one is way worse than the former is way worse than the latter? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Censorship like this is absolutely unacceptable, and in my opinion, it's high time for regulations against that. It isn't their job to regulate what content people are allowed to pay for. It's an insane overreach.
Jennifer says, personally, I'd rather show my kids war movies than incest movies. You're conflating two things in the argument. You're basically saying that games about murdering innocent people is a war movie. It's not really the same thing, to be honest.
And abuse of what is practically a monopoly in many cases, especially with digital purchases where you can't just pay in cash. It's kind of dystopian that PayPal and
No, it's not even the people being evil in games. Like, you could play a game where you walk around. There's a lot of these kind of like Grand Theft Auto games where you could just walk around committing crimes, violent crimes against people. And it's all like possible in the game. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, don't misunderstand my argument. I'm for all of it, basically. That's my point.
They can dictate what content is allowed to be sold on online platforms. And I'm not convinced that politicians are not somehow involved with this, like, asking for regulations. But what if the people you're trying to get to regulate this are in fact actually supporting this sort of action? I'm just saying. They might think like, well, why would a politician care what's on Steam? And that takes me to, maybe I'm sounding like a crazy conspiracy theorist here or something, but I don't think the payment processors particularly even really care about this stuff that much. Allow me to explain. I think going after certain types of R34 content and policing that is more of a test. Maybe they care a little bit, but I don't think this is like the end all be all. I think this is more of a test to see how much control they can try to have and what they can get away with. And right now,
because can they get it? They already do this all the time, by the way, to guns. They do this to like gun stuff a lot, where they just like make it so like you can't be on a platform, on like a payment platform, like if you sell anything related to guns.
Now going after certain types of R34 content is basically a test for them to see if they can get platforms to bend the knee. And it's not always about like this incest stuff that's happening on Steam right now. I've seen them previously, according to my recollection, going after a Japanese dating website, for example, saying that they're not going to support it anymore. They're not going to facilitate those transactions. And the website was literally just built for otakus to like find relationships together. Like, it's like a dating platform for otakus. So they go up.
Yeah, I know. Sola, yeah.
After stuff like that. And on Steam, they're going after stuff like this. And yeah, I think it's probably all just a test. I think they're going to want to continue seeing just how much control they can have over platforms and people. Right now, that's going after certain types of R34 content and dating sites. But as the years go on, they may continue going after people for anything and platforms for anything. Again, seeing how much they can get away with, and ultimately, they just want to have as much control, as much power as they possibly can. Now, originally, I expanded on that point for another like 2 minutes, but I'm actually cutting that out of the video. I don't think it's necessary. I think you all clearly see the point that I'm getting at. And let me know if you agree or just...
A feminist group called Collective Shout has admitted to being responsible for the censorship with payment processors and Steam and potentially other areas. Asmongold is right about the people that cause all of the problem. He's so right.
Disagree. Again, maybe this is a crazy conspiracy theory, but I do think that there's more merit to it than not. Let's take a look at some more of the comments here. Kinda sucks that they did this because of card companies and not because of their own wish. Yeah, kinda sucks is an understatement, but I gotcha. Hope these card/payment companies not get too ahead of themselves after this. Response reading, they always have been ahead of themselves. Mastercard and so on has been known for basically forcing the cancellation of certain products like manga. I think it's BS a payment processor has any say in this. That basically a payment processor has any say in this. They shouldn't care about anything other than selling their service.
Yep. The only thing I can see is them having a terms of service where you can't do an illegal thing. I think that would probably be the only thing. Hold on, I have to think about it. No, because if they do that, then they have to police. Then they would be responsible for... Never mind, I take that back. Because if they have a thing that says that you can't do an illegal thing using their payment thing, then that means that they're making a decision. They're making a terms of service decision in which they would be responsible for enforcing it. So then it would be their responsibility in that case to determine if an act is illegal or not. And I don't think that's really their place.
Next response.
Never mind, I changed my mind.
Let's check this out. Let's see here.
Yeah, exactly. We had to spy on you in order to enforce a law. Yes, that's where I went with it, and that's where I realized the problem was as I was saying it.
Read this one. This is pretty interesting.
Again, you think about things for more than 5 seconds, right, chat?
Mastercard/Visa have basically a death grip on digital sales monopoly, so it's not even PayPal or Stripe, but Mastercard/Visa that controls everything. It's also understandably why they're conservative, because they need to play ball with every nation on earth, and that's where the problem really comes from. The UK, Canada, and Australia... Well, hold on a second, though, because we have literally seen double standards already, so I don't really think that's too accurate. For example, going back to the the situation I mentioned in Japan where they went after a dating site. So you're telling me they will go after a dating site for otakus that wasn't even like, it wasn't like an R34 site. It was a dating site.
Wait, is it? Wait.
So otaku dating
Wait.
site. Oh no, that's too far.
What? Hold on. I'm not gonna look at this on stream, obviously. But otaku dating site. Is this real? No, my otaku, bro. No, this is real. Looking for a Onichan to Yosuga Mysora. All right.
It's not okay. But meanwhile, they're totally fine supporting transactions on like OnlyFans, for example, which is just filled with explicit R34 adult material. So this whole like excuse about they need to be conservative, I don't buy it. Like, no, I don't think so. Continuing though, let's see what else this person says. The UK, Canada, and Australia always have been a bit reluctant about sexual themes, especially when it's fetishy. But right now, the West is on a trajectory to completely ban porn. See the USA, UK, France, Germany, and the rest of the EU. It's a chilling effect that in turn makes payment processors act conservative because they want to fully comply with every government.
The seed of content has been planted.
So as much as some people
Bomb
want
has
to
been
believe that
planted.
banks will power countries due to the crush effect that in turn makes payment processors act conservative because they want to fully comply with every government. So as much as some people want to believe that banks hold the true power of countries due to the crushing debt, the country can still decide to do their own payment processing system, which the EU is also planning right now. However, the OP also needs to be corrected. The removal of incest-themed games, has actually nothing to do with this, but everything with the UK and Australia. This guideline is in there now because Mastercard/Visa has been pressuring all their partners to not just remove porn, but nudity because of the shifting situation in the West. Mortal Online 2, for example, has zero sexual content, but they had to remove nudity because of the payment processors.
Dude, these payment processors should not have the ability to make political decisions like this for everyone else. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, and the government needs to, by the way, this is the purpose of the government. They need to fucking crack down on this. This is ridiculous.
So this isn't about discriminating the Japanese. You will see this happening to Cyberpunk and Witcher 2, which will have to retroactively censored within 2 years or be pulled from Steam, because after those 2 years, the EU will heavily enforce the new provisions in the DSA, which will basically be the end of mature themes on the internet and for entertainment media.
This is like basically like this is like a monopoly issue, basically, right? Where they have I guess it would be more like a cartel issue, basically. But like, I don't know. I don't know the terminology, financial stuff. But basically, how we pay and receive payment is an important part of society, because if someone were able to cut you out of financial institutions, you're unable to function in society, right? So the ability for a private entity to basically make an executive decision about who can't participate in society is a grave injustice, basically. This is the reason the government exists, to make sure that an individual private company doesn't have this kind of power.
I don't know. Oh, someone else.
And guys, I'm not a big fan of the government, but I'm less of a fan of this bullshit.
Sources. There's no proposal that would lead to a complete porn ban in Germany that I know of, so I heavily doubt the rest of your post. Response saying, he talks about the age verification thing. That a new system is planned with ID, license, or face recognition, which aims to protect children, lol, but is more likely to be more likely about a step-by-step control over users, just like China already has. Weird to think it's about banning porn. Yeah, so that comment is more along the lines of what I'm thinking. I think the going after, as mentioned, I'm repeating myself now, but yeah, I think going after certain types of adult material is really just a guise for them to test just how much control they currently have, and I think it's reasonable to expect that.
The other thing to understand too is that how people, okay, how do I explain this? How an entity interacts with the most, how any entity of power, be it government, private business, how they interact with the most marginal, I know marginalized is like a word that the woke uses all the time, but hear me out. How a entity interacts with the most marginalized things, concepts, people, products, how they interact with that is the baseline. It shows you how much power that they have. Because it's easiest to find acceptance socially to mess with those people and to fuck them over. It's the easiest to fuck them over. So you can see like the bubblings of like their power by how they affect those things, right? And like, so right now, like them saying like, oh, porn, like, yeah, porn is like so bad. We should totally like remove all of that, right? Especially that weird hentai shit. We should remove that and make it so nobody can buy from them, right? Hey, we make it so nobody can buy from them and we'll choke them out and now they won't have any money, right? But how far is that from, yeah, you voted for Trump? Yeah, we should choke you out. So now you can't do anything. Now, how do you feel, huh? Like, it's not even that far away. The fact that they can do it to hentai and to whatever their category of like a deplorable game is, means that they can leverage that power whenever they want against people that don't have that quality. And the only reason they don't leverage it against whatever their chosen enemy is because of social pressure. And that the social pressure on the kind of fringe content is not there, so you can see the freedom. Do you understand what I'm saying? Since the social pressure doesn't exist, all social pressure is it basically a blowback for an action, right? So seeing what they do with the fringes shows what they would do without blowback, right? So what happens when that blowback turns to, you voted for Trump, so fuck you, right? It's not that far. The fact that they even have that power in the first place is ridiculous. That's my point.
They're projecting to have far more control in the future, and they're going to keep testing to see if they can get away with such things. And again, I think there's probably...
Because of Trump right now, a lot of companies are pushing the boundaries of what they can get away with. Rules are being ignored, regulations are being removed, freedom is being restricted. And I disagree with all of that. I do not want that at all. I don't want this, regardless of who's implementing it. It could be Trump himself. Trump could visit me right now, knock on my door and say, Leaflit, I want this to happen. Like, I want payment companies to pick and choose who is allowed to do business in the free market. And I would tell Trump, fuck you, dude. That's ridiculous. Get the fuck out of here. I would say the exact same thing no matter who says it. So this is not about Trump. This is about none of that. I don't care who says it. I'm against it regardless.
Some politicians behind the scenes who are heavily in favor of this stuff too. It's just people who like to have control and power over others can use this sort of thing to facilitate them having more power and control over others. Guess what? A lot of politicians fit that bill. A lot of corpos fit that bill. Seems like they would have a great partnership together in this sort of thing, doesn't it? Of course, that would be bad for all of us. I'm going to leave it there, though. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed my coverage. Appreciate you. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.